He sent me $20 on Cash App to buy our daughter Chick-fil-A.
Did you ever tell him you did not need his help, didn't want any of his money?
But now that I'm married, now we want 3 years of back child support.
We're looking at seeing whether or not this is going to be a final, or whether or not the court should order Mr. Andreas to provide certain additional financial information. Here's the problem, Mr. Andreas. You were served with a copy of the paperwork. Paperwork specifically says that based on a request for production, you were ordered within a certain amount of time, which is normally 52 days after you were served with that paperwork, to provide the state with copies of W-2s, 1040s, bank account information, so forth and so on. It's called a request for production. And if you did not provide that information, then the court can obviously not go forward with this case. If this was a private case and I was still a private lawyer, I would object to you testifying to anything dealing with the financial circumstances you're requesting, because you did not answer that. That's my understanding. You did not provide that information to the state, and under Texas law, guess what? You cannot testify to anything dealing with money if you did not provide your financial information. Period. And I could do that on my own motion, but the state of Texas normally doesn't do it. The AG's office is in the business of trying to get everything done and taken care of, where lawyers are in the business of winning for their client, okay? And believe me, if a private attorney was on this, you wouldn't be able to testify to a word, sir, unless you provided that information. So at this time, I'm gonna go ahead and let the state call you both as witnesses. I wanna see why the state, let's see why the state is requesting this. And if you have not produced that information, sir, I'm gonna give you a date certain where you would need to have to produce that. Otherwise, then we will proceed without you being able to testify, sir. So again, I want to confirm everything. My suspicions are correct on this matter, because hey, if I'm wrong and you produced all that information, we'll find that out real quick, and I will apologize. But for right now, let's go ahead and get everybody under oath, and I'll let the state finish their opening statement, and let you and the mom be called as witnesses, and let's testify to see what we can do here today and see whether or not we can get this thing finalized. So at this time, again, Mr. Stanky, that's my understanding of what you were requesting. And is there anything else you want to add to that at this point before we call the party as witnesses?
Yes, if I may, Your Honor. The state believes that the case should be reset through Mr. Andreas not providing written documentation. I believe the evidence would show that he is self-employed, and that absent him providing some sort of profit and loss or ongoing balance sheets, at least last year's tax form would be dispositive as to how much the income should be. I think the custodial parent is concerned about having to come back to court again, and ultimately, outside of the judge, of you making that decision on your own, if she wants to proceed forward today, knowing that there is limited income information, I'm willing to offer testimony from both parties, but I think it would be in the best interest of the child to have specific documentation. Right now, there's a temporary order that I believe the support was set, from my understanding, with just Miss Edwards' testimony. I don't think there was any Bureau of Labor Statistics or any other information provided. I know Mr. Andreas is concerned about where that number came from, but I think he has to provide some documentation too to say why the number's wrong. I don't think that it was his deliberate attempt to avoid that information, but I think it would be best if the court reset it, continue the temporary order the way it is. The court could always go back and modify the temporary obligation back the past 2 months if the court thinks it was completely out of line with his income.
All right, folks, well, let's get some testimony from both of y'all, and let's see what we can do one way or the other. Again, I'm not trying to cast aspersions on you, sir or ma'am. I just want to find out what the truth is and what the information is. And I'll give Mr. Stanky the opportunity to get you some questions, sir, because again, if you're self-employed and not employed, then one of the questions that he's obviously going to ask, and I'm going to remind him to ask, is how long you've been in business and what you do, and whether or not you've applied for any type of loans as far as your business is concerned, or set up credit card accounts based on them, because you obviously had to give financial information for all those items Chase does not give you money without knowing what you're doing with it. So, how are you going to pay them back? So let's find out what's going on here, and I'll see whether or not we can get through today. And again, ma'am, I'll go ahead and let you tell the court why you might not want to come back, or you might want to try to get this done today, but it's still left up to me to make a decision whether or not I feel it's in your child's best interest that we finalize this today, one way or the other.
State calls Ariana Edwards.
Ayana.
Ayana, I'm sorry, Miss Edwards, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
And what health insurance is currently in place for the child?
Medicaid.
And how old is she?
5.
How long have you had that form of health insurance?
Since she was born.
Has there ever been a time when Mr. Andreas was providing private health insurance where you had the card?
He provided health insurance last year.
Do you believe that that is a stable way for the health insurance to be provided through him?
No, it hasn't been consistent.
Are you asking the court to continue the health insurance provider the way you have it set up now?
Yes.
And we talked a little bit about Mr. Andreas's income information. You do not believe that just testimony is sufficient to establish a proper support. Is that correct?
Can you ask the question again? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry, I wasn't clear. I guess I should say, are you asking the court to make a final decision today on what the support is, or you believe that more information should be provided to make a decision?
I'm not sure. I would just like to not continue receiving 0.
And can you repeat that? You kind of echoed on me, ma'am. Repeat that answer, please.
I said, I'm not sure if more information is necessary or not. I would just like to not keep receiving 0.
And what you're referring to is under the temporary order, there have been 2 amounts that have accrued of $13.57 apiece. So right now the balance is $2,714. Is that right?
Correct.
And he has not sent you any money through other sources like Cash App or anything like that?
He sent me $20 on Cash App to buy our daughter Chick-fil-A.
And how long ago was that?
Sometime last month.
Okay, so that was within the time period when there was a temporary order. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the temporary order, we left open for decision whether there should be retroactive child support. Now, when would you say that you and Mr. Andreas separated?
We have not been together since November of 2019.
And after November of 2019, who left the residence where y'all were together?
He left.
And has he known where you have lived the whole time since then?
Yes.
Did you ever tell him you did not need his help, didn't want any of his money?
No.
Did he send you any money since y'all separated?
He has sent me some here and there.
Has he sent you any items of clothing, diapers, or anything like that?
He's bought some, yes.
What would you estimate the value of those would be?
Over the course of the last 4 years, maybe around 20. And that's including like daycare expenses and everything like that.
Okay, 20 what? 20 how much?
1,000.
20,000. You think he's sent you? Okay, I wanted to clarify that. So you think he's
between mostly the expenses of like daycare and things like that, and some of the money here and there, yes.
Okay. And you're asking the court to consider if there should be any back child support for the past 3 years. Is that right?
Yes.
To your knowledge, was he doing similar work then that he's doing now?
Yes.
I'm sorry, real quick, ma'am. Was he self-employed then or working for someone when y'all separated?
He was self-employed then. He's had, I think, 2 or 3 jobs under someone, but for the majority, he's been self-employed.
All right, just trying to get some clarification. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, be back to you in just a moment, ma'am. Call your next witness, please.
State calls Brian Andreas to the witness stand. Sir, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you just fine.
Okay. And what sort of work do you do?
General construction.
And do you have your own business?
I do.
And do you have someone that helps you do your taxes?
I do.
Is that a bookkeeper, an accounting firm, or who?
It's a lady who was a bookkeeper, professionally, but she's yeah, so it's yeah, so a bookkeeper.
Okay. Are you the sole owner of that business?
I am.
And do you have any employees?
I do.
How many employees do you have?
About 8 right now.
And have you consistently run with about 8 employees for this year?
I have not. We varied. Like right now, we're on larger projects. So I mean, it varies depending on what our needs are.
Okay. What is the format of your business? Is it a partnership, LLC, or what is it?
So we have filed for an S4, but we're not operating under that yet. But what I'm currently under is a sole prop.
Okay. So your income tax that was filed last year, was it filed on time?
It was filed, I believe, a little bit late because what do we have? Yeah, it was filed a little bit late this year.
Okay. But that has been filed. And if you could, you would be able to get a copy of that.
Yes.
Is that correct? Is anyone else's income on that other than yours?
Just mine, because that would be for last year.
Okay. And if the court orders this, would you be able to provide that with all of the schedules and the indication that that version had been filed with the IRS?
Yes.
Now, your employees, do you pay them hourly?
Well, they're 1099, so it's by the job. So.
Okay. How much would you estimate that you spent on wages for your employees last year?
Oh, again, that varies because it could be anywhere from, depending on the week, it could be 700 in the week, or it could be 5,000 in the week, depending on the job we're on. So,
off the top of your head, do you know what you claimed as expenses for wages?
So, I don't know off the top of my head, and I don't feel like I can give you an accurate number.
Okay, that's okay.
So,
if you don't know, I mean, be honest. If you don't know.
Yeah, this is like my first time getting really organized and trying to run it properly.
Now, you have applied for a vehicle loan in the past year, is that correct?
Yeah.
And where was that?
Oh, goodness. The Maxdale Auto.
And when you did that, did they offer a credit source, or did you already have financing lined up?
Oh, they offered a credit source.
Okay. And so did you submit that through the dealership credit, the
dealership,
the manufacturer credit?
the dealership credit?
Okay, was it Ford credit or was it?
No, I bought an old truck. So it's, I didn't buy anything. It was like a $15,000 truck. It wasn't anything to write home about. So
now, was there a time that you also were going to buy a vehicle for the custodial parent?
There was time we went and looked at vehicles. Yeah.
And did you ever submit a application for financing for a vehicle for mom?
No.
And do you know what credit union or bank the application for credit went through for your truck?
I mean, I'm sure they did a couple, but I think it was Westlake.
Okay. And do you believe, I'm not trying to trap you or anything or get you in trouble, but do you believe that the income information that you included on that represented what you were earning at that time?
Yes.
So if you had the ability to get that, or if we subpoenaed that, you wouldn't have any objection to the amounts?
I wouldn't have any objection. Well, I don't remember what we put on the application. I know it was based off of whatever the business was coming, but because it was coming through the account, they counted that. So again, it's not a true indication of my personal finances, because of course with, my business we own a skid steer, right? Again, that's not necessarily, I mean, I have expenses is what I'm getting at in order to operate. So
did you purchase the skid steer this year?
I have.
And how much do you have to pay per month on that?
$1,100 a month.
And do you have a vehicle?
I have a truck. Yes, sir.
And how much do you have to pay on that?
$370.
Where you live, do you have to pay mortgage?
Rent.
How much is the rent?
For me and my wife, it is $2,100.
And how do y'all pay it? Do you pay all the 21? Does she pay all the 21?
She handles that. She pays the rent over here.
Okay.
So,
and do you have credit card expenses that you have to pay each month?
personal credit cards.
How much would you say that you have to pay on that each month?
I don't know, maybe $150, not much.
Okay. Do you have business loans that are revolving that you have to make payments on every month?
No, the only business loan that I would have would be the skid steer, but it's unconventional. It's like a subject to somebody wasn't able to make their payment, so we entered an agreement without the bank. So I essentially am paying his payments for him.
Okay.
Without obtaining credit for the business.
Do you have cell phone bill that you have to pay?
I do, yeah.
How much do you pay for all that?
I believe, including Miss Edwards' iPad service, I paid $307 a month.
Okay. How much do you think that you spend on gas each month for your vehicle?
$300, $400 a month, maybe.
And how much would you believe that you spend on meals every month?
We, because I have me, my wife, and the other two children full time, I would say our groceries are probably about $1,000 a month.
Okay. And are there electricity bill that you have to pay?
Yes, sir.
How much would you say that is?
That's normally about $436 a month.
Okay. Are there any other bills that you believe the court should know about to calculate how much your expenses are each month?
I would say, and just out of, for clarification, my household bills are split between me and my wife. So my question is, would I include any of her bills, or would I just include solely me?
Well, I'm asking basically what you have to pay each month for expenses, not what she might pay or what the total is, just what you're paying each month so the court knows.
Yeah, I'd probably say, I don't know, roughly like $2,700 a month or something like that. So the skid steer wouldn't be considered personal for me because that's out of the business.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that that's not included in my, in my finances.
Okay. So now when you filed your income taxes for the last tax year, I think you estimated what you thought the gross income was on that, if you remember. Do you remember what that was?
It was like 57,000.
Okay. And was that your total gross sales, or was that after you deducted expenses?
So that would have been my personal income tax.
Okay. So your personal income tax of 57, that includes only the money that you paid yourself from the business. Is that correct?
Yes.
So do you know what your gross sales were from the business?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to, because again, a lot of different numbers, and so.
Okay. And so you're in charge of setting your salary, basically, depending on how much that comes in. How much would you say that you're paying yourself each month from your business?
Yeah, I'd say between like 4,500 and 5,500.
And the temporary order had a gross income that was twice that much.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that number is incorrect?
I do feel it's incorrect.
Now, do you think that you could, if the court allows it, that you could get together information regarding your income tax and loan application to make sure that the correct child support is set on a final basis?
Yeah, absolutely.
You have one other child, correct?
So I have one other child that we have an attorney general case for that I have sole custody of, and then I'm in the process, like I said, of adoption for my stepdaughter. And then we're unsure if we have one on the way or not. So
okay, and the adoption may be completed in 2 months, possibly.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Those are all the questions. Oh, let me ask you. You said you weren't exactly aware of the initial obligation because there was some problem with connectivity or whether you were participating in that temporary hearing. You understand right now, rightly or wrongly, the balance is $2,714 on those two payments. You understand that?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay.
And am I able to add to that?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so just when I called in for the Zoom again, when I wasn't able to be connected, I guess because whatever time schedule was off, they basically just told me that court was reset, so I didn't know that we had an order until after the fact. I just was notified that the schedule changed, and I just assumed first, third, fifth weekend, so I wasn't even aware that I was entitled or allowed to get her on Thursday evenings. So, that was a mistake on my part.
So what happened, basically, without going too much into it, y'all had an agreement where you're doing your own visitation at some point, and then now there's the standard possession order. That's the extended one where you're entitled to Thursday evening to when school starts Monday, correct?
Yes, sir. We had a week on, a week off was our schedule. And we even had a notarized form when I was working for a different company prior to being fully self-employed.
Okay.
And I don't know if y'all have a copy of that original support that her and I had notarized, but it was showing that we did joint custody. It was a week on, a week off. And then, like I said, I just assumed it was first, third, fifth weekends. The attorney, I'm sorry, real quick, kids. So I had, basically, I'm sorry, I'm trying to not interrupt with the children in the background. But yeah, I didn't. We went from one to another, and yeah, I'm just a little confused. I guess on the back child support, because I think we even operated in a capacity where she filed my oldest on her taxes for a few years, because we financially operated together, and he's always lived with me, so I don't understand how that wouldn't be considered into this determination here.
And is it correct when the mother says that she thinks that you paid with childcare and other things about $20,000?
I'd say it's probably a little bit more because, again, I incurred expenses while she was in my care during those week on and week off. I know, there's been a couple times.
Sir, so you can only count monies, things you gave her, not expenses while the child was with you. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Those are all the questions I have, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Be back in a moment. Anything again of the mother at this time, Mr. Stackey?
Nothing else, Your Honor.
All right, sir. How long do you think it'll take you to get a copy of that your tax return and a copy of that loan application you did for the new vehicle, sir?
Yeah, I would assume 10 business days. I think that's kind of the standard anytime we do a request. Okay. So I'd probably ask for 3 weeks in order to make sure that I can send a certified copy of something, certified mail to whoever I'm needing to send that to, and then get a response.
Okay, and your bookkeeper, do they have their own firm, or they work for somebody? Or
no, they're working for themselves right now because there's a smaller.
So that one you can get fast, but the other one might take a while, right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right then. All right then. And real fast, sir. How much have you given the mother in cash or in cash payments over the last 90 days?
We haven't done any cash payments over the last 90 days.
All right, so there have been no funds there over the last 90 days?
No, sir.
All right. And as far as the child being with you over the last 90 days, what time frames are we looking at? Weekends, that sort, what are we talking about?
Yeah, so in the first 30 days of the 90, we did a week on, a week off still, to my recollection. And now it is the standard visitation. So it's the first, third, fifth weekends. And now that I'm aware that Thursdays I'm entitled to as well, and even then I'd like some clarification, and not to mince it, but I wasn't under the impression, the way it reads, that I'm able to keep her until Monday when school goes. And that's what the gentleman was telling me in our breakout rooms. So I'm still not fully understanding the schedule that's ordered.
All right, so again, I wish I could give you, if you want some, obviously you want some legal advice or some legal interpretation, you probably need to run that by your own lawyer or by someone who's knowledgeable enough to give you that information, sir. But again, obviously the standard possession order for people who live between 1 and 50 miles may be in your case. be the appropriate possession order. And if you need that explained to you, someone from the state might explain it to you. But if you want to be sure that you understand everything, you have specific questions back, and it might take a while, then you really might need to speak to your own lawyer about that one way or the other.
Okay.
But the bottom line is, I'm probably looking at doing a reset. I'm probably giving you the opportunity to get that information. I don't want you to pay it. We're not asking that you pay a dime more or a dime less, but we will be looking at that, sir. And again, I know you were testifying that you and the mom had an agreement, notarized and everything. But unfortunately, like I said in my opening statement, unless it involves someone in Bell County with the name judge in front of that agreement, it's not worth the paper it's printed on, sir. These items are governed by the Texas Family Code, which means it takes a family law court to actually make a binding order or an agreement in these things. So if there's something you specifically want to ask the court to do, sir, you obviously have the right to do so, but it has to be right now. The only thing I have before the court are the pleadings that have been submitted by the state, and those have pretty much been at mom's behest for mom's benefit. So if you want something separate, you've got to follow what the rules say. And of course, if there's something that you want as far as a clarification at the final order, I'll be happy to try to help you with that, sir. But there's nothing like having your own counsel on this. So anyway,
Okay.
right now I'm looking at going ahead and ma'am, doing a reset. We need to get a copy of his information, because my understanding is that you're asking for retro. And sir, if you've got dates certain that the child is actually living with you for 1 week on and 1 week off, and you got proof of that, or you got testimony on that, and the mom will verify that testimony, then obviously I can adjust your child support appropriately to cover only the times that the child was with mom. Because again, that's what I'm allowed to do. So
Okay.
So y'all need to sit down and do the math, and sit down and do the calendar. I'm sorry, and figure out all this. And I want to give Dad a month to get his paperwork and ducks in a row and come back and where we can finalize this thing. I really hate to put y'all back on a general docket, but I don't have any special settings to December, and it might not be to December before we get back in here anyway. But right now, it'll either have to be a general docket, because again, right now I don't think I have anything as far as special settings concerned because of the holiday time frames. Okay, so now this is not there. So you're probably looking at a general docket, and what was the date the state would be looking at coming back as far as getting making sure that they had the information necessary?
Whatever time that Mr. Andreas needs, I'm fine with that. And if I need to talk to legal tech about the actual date, I don't have the available dates in front of me, Your Honor.
All right, then. Well, I know I got general dockets all over the place, but the next one that probably fits in his schedule. So, when they say 18, 20 days, I always give them 30, because you're dealing with huge corporations. And again, next month is Thanksgiving, Veterans Day. So there's going to be lots of closures. So I would be looking at December. And like you told him, I could always retroactive it back down to the correct amount, whatever the child support should have been when I made that original order. And that can cover November, December, August, whatever the dates of that month were that were covered. All right, well, let's do Thursday the 12th then. All right, you'll need to get and like lawyers do, I'll ask that you get that information that's been requested to the state, and Mr. Sankey will get you back in the breakout room and tell you how to the address to send that to. The state has its own clearinghouse for email attached information that they're requesting in cases where that needs to be sent, and I'll ask you to get that done and sent to him on or before the last day of November, which is the 30th. Okay.
Okay.
Your Honor, if they can go ahead and be excused, I will submit that information in the reset and send it to him via DocuSign.
All right, good enough. So one final time, Mr. Andreas, questions or anything else, sir, you think I need to know at this point?
I do have the question, and that was in regards to her filing my oldest on income tax. Is that relevant? Because again, saying that we didn't operate together.
What's the question? I'm sorry.
Well, with her filing my oldest on the income tax, even though wouldn't that be relevant to show that that we were financially intertwined? Because why else would somebody claim a child?
It may be, sir. So, but you need to get those dates and times. And if you're saying that those were payments that you gave her in lieu of child support, then
no, sir. That's not what I was saying. I just was saying because we were functioning, but financially you know, there was we were intertwined, even though we weren't married, we were still on an on and off basis. And, you know, but now that I'm married, it's now we want 3 years of back child support.
Okay, well,
So-
sir, if you could show during that time frame that y'all were together, then that'll work. Or if she's asking for child support for that time frame, and those were the funds that that they were your funds that you allowed her to get based on that, it's kind of problematic based on income tax, because again, it's really the dependence and the amount she got back would be a lot of that would be dependent on her income and her sources and what her deductions were, so forth and so on. So we would need to get that information. So again, you're the first person I've been doing this for 20 years. And I never heard of anybody doing that before, giving their tax deduction to a child that's not theirs to the other person. And so I don't know. There's not a criteria for that. I'll figure one out.
Okay, well, sounds good. I just, you know, I feel like it's relevant because, again, saying we were completely strangers.
Okay. Well, we'll figure it out, sir, and
So-
I'll try to figure out some property. You know, Judge's background is his college background is business administration, finance. So yeah, we'll figure it out. All right.
Yes, sir. Sounds good.
All right. All right. Ms. Edwards, anything else, ma'am, at this time?
To clarify, as far as the retroactive child support, I was not including the roughly year that we were a week on and a week off, because you
Okay,
can
well-
go back 4 years and I only asked for 3. So just to
Okay.
clarify.
All right. Well, again, if that's the time frame is, but you know, get your calendars out, folks, because when we get testimony on that, you can ask the court for permission. Well, look, can I check my my documentation for the calendar? And you can actually give me dates, times, everything, 100% where we can get it down pat. All right, ma'am. But I understand
Okay.
that you're saying that, and you're letting him know at this point that that's not inclusive of the time frames what y'all were doing 1 week on and 1 week off. And you can confirm that, and we'll move on with that. All right. Thank you.
All right, you as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you,
Robert,
folks.
y'all good to go. Thank you.
Mr. Andreas and Ms. Edwards, you can hit leave meeting. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, and just to clarify, y'all do have the ARG. That's the one I'm docu-signing for right now?
Yes,
or-
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, sir.
She believes that Dad will make approximately 250,000 this year.
He boasts a lot. So that's why I said, like, he has told me he will at least clear 250.
I'm going to use that. And if he's not making that, he shouldn't be bragging that.